Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ GOONS podcast. I'm your host, Tim, the Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me, as always, is...
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nico Ball, no new Nico here, and welcome to the 85th episode of the best Jiu-Jitsu podcast ever. This week, we have a special guest with us. We have one of my good friends, Pabs Carela from New York. What's up, Pabs?
Big Pabs, Harlem in the house, baby.
Hey, oh, you're from Harlem?
You got it. I was Brooklyn and Harlem.
Oh, okay.
Flatbush.
I didn't realize
35th
that
and Church.
I mean, when I go to New York, I always come and see y'all and everything, but I always stay in the Bronx. So, I like traveling to the Bronx.
I mean, I give love to all the boroughs.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's
up. Well, I'm from Harlem, straight up.
Well, that's what's up. So, we're going to touch base, talk about some current events and everything. And obviously, one of the current events that we're always talking about is racism in jiu-jitsu and all of that shit that keeps happening. And I never actually really experienced personally the racism in jiu-jitsu until last week when people started going on the favela jiu-jitsu Instagram for just unknown reasons at a time. And I really credit that to the fact that I've been able to surround myself with a tribe of amazing people. And Pabs, you're definitely one of them. I met you when I was just living my life in Brazil. So I met you and Fernando and OC and Natalie, who are apparently in your living room right now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, he's in a dark room because all the people that I love so much are apparently in his living room.
They ran me out my living room, babe.
I was also going to say we need to have OC on the podcast because I'm hurting and we just had a chiropractor and I know he does a lot of stuff about movement and everything. Yeah, so...
And Natalie is a trained physical therapist.
Yeah. She be doing this other stuff that I wanted to talk to her about, but that was some more women in communism stuff that has nothing to do with
absolutely.
So that was just
they're out there in the Rev Room right now, bugging out, talking about socialism and all that stuff.
So I'm really mad that they're all with you because I would love to be in New York with y'all. But I just want to give a shout out because everybody hits me and Tim up and they're like, what do we do? Where do we train? And it can be very easy to find an amazing group of people like y'all. Because I've had so many great experiences with you guys in Rio and New York and everything. So shout out to you.
Absolutely.
And
listen, thank you very much. You're most than welcome to my house. Mi casa su casa anytime. You know how it is. I think that you're one of the most precious people I know because you're so genuine, right? You're always working for everybody, and I think that that's why we reciprocate to you in that fashion. That we give our all to you because we know that you're always giving your all to everybody. So your flowers to you.
That's what's up. We were just talking about drink champs and everything. All right. So before we get into any particular questions, I just want to check in. Tim, you're flying out to Miami soon, right? You are fighting Cyborg.
Yes, I leave for Miami Thursday. It's going to be a short turnaround. I'm not going to be turning up in the club or anything. That's just a business trip. So I've been training. I've been expanding myself as a martial artist. So I've been doing more than just jiu-jitsu. It's a short notice fight. I wasn't expecting to get this match this early in the year, but I spoke into existence as a match that I've wanted for a very long time. And, just taking the opportunity and I'm really excited. I haven't competed since January of last year. It's been when I fought Herbers for the heavyweight title in the gi. So I'm just excited. I think my philosophy as a martial artist has changed since then. A lot of growth as a martial artist, as a competitor. So I'm just looking forward to just going out there and putting on a show for the fans and taking home the belt. And of course, I love collecting checks and collecting necks. So I chose and I enjoy it. I'm excited.
That's what's up. So are you training jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and every day?
Yeah. So I do my conditioning. I go for a run in the morning, and in the evening I go and I train with Coach Jamal. Basically, like 5 or 6 times a week, I'm just doing Muay Thai, and then afterwards, at night, I do the Jiu-Jitsu class. I do specific things for it, depending on what the match is going to be like. So I know it's going to be a lot of wrestling. So I've been working with some wrestlers and just, getting my sea legs under me, so to speak, because in Maryland, it's been really tough. I went to Georgia for a month and it was wide open, but up north, basically where you are up north, Maryland, I consider basically the north. It's very hard to train in that it's like a bubble. It's not as open. And typically the guys or the classes or the training schedule that we would have pre-COVID is not the same. So before we would have multiple training sessions in a day like that, but it's very hard to get the band back together. But, I got these guys that I train with. They're great training partners in Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. So that's what I've been doing. So I train at night, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling stuff, and just getting in the groove of things, making the best of a crazy situation, like all of us do.
Yeah, you were locked down for a while. You were definitely locked down for a while.
Oh yeah, I grew out the beard and like a fro. It was crazy, but we're back, baby. We're back in
Hey.
business.
How are things in New York? Are you training? Is it locked down? Like,
Oh man, this is bad. It's bad up here. Everybody's locked down. It's terrible, man. I didn't train. Yo, it's crazy. This is nuts, right? So I didn't train since March, I want to say, right? So everybody started going, oh my God, we're gonna get locked down and da 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 da. So I didn't train since March till October, right? Then I was all gassed and dying, right? And then I got COVID. I actually was positive, and it killed me because it took everything from me. It was like a super flu, but the pains. I couldn't feel my hands, so I had tactile issues. Right now, I'm still recovering because I had a serious frontal sinus infection that gave me an acute ear infection, and it popped both my eardrums. So right now, I'm partially deaf on both ears.
oh, like, so that was related because I saw when you had posted on Instagram that you had corona and like that it was
Yeah.
horrible. And I was like, and he's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
telling us, he's still posting like status updates. It was like, oh man. And
Yeah,
then
I wanted
after,
everybody to know.
yeah, and it was good to know because it's scary because when I see that stuff, like it just definitely validates the fact that like I am not out there and I'm not competing and like I'm not going around
Yeah.
like risking exposure because like I don't want to have to deal with that. And I didn't know if you get it in DC that they'll put you up in a hotel for free, but like I have 4 roommates. Like this, like to me it was like if I get it, what am I going to do? Like
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
And
so
think
I
about
didn't
it. I'm here
no.
with a wife and 3 kids, and of course they got it. You know what I mean? Of course they got it. We're in close quarters, whatnot. And the thing is, I created a training pods for everybody to be safe, and I was testing weekly. So that's how I found out that I had it. So I would do 2 tests. I would do the regular test and the rapid test. And then the day after Thanksgiving, no, 2 days after Thanksgiving, it was like, yo, you're positive. And I was asymptomatic. All I As soon as they told me I had it, it was like a ton of bricks fell on me, and I started feeling everything. It was
Oh
strange.
wow.
Good Lord.
So what do you
It
mean
was.
like
Yeah, go ahead.
I was like, what is a training pod like?
All right, so we chose 8 people that we were going to train, together. The people that were not like super afraid of COVID. And I tell everybody, if you were afraid, I understand. Like it's not, no shame in the game. You don't want to get it, you don't want to get it, right? So, but I was one of those people that said, at some point, everyone is going to get it, right? Until we find like a cure, a vaccine, or some sort of herd immunity or whatever. My idea was like everybody was going to get it. I'm young enough, I'm healthy enough that I thought, I can survive. I could deal with it. So we created pods, and the only thing was we were supposed to test at least weekly, so we could keep on training. And then we were using the gym, different pods at different times. So at some point we were like 64 people using the gym. but I obviously not everybody's gonna take the same care. So my pod, it would have been like, oh, see, Natalie, my wife, this close people.
Mm-hmm.
But and I still ended up getting it,
So
and
you think you got it
it
from
was
somebody else's pod being at the gym?
maybe. I mean, that's not. Yo, this is New York City too, so it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no look. This week was when everybody started wearing masks. Okay,
What do you
you
mean?
go out in New York
This
City, no
week?
one had
What do
no
you
mask,
mean? This
bro.
is
We were
what?
still dining inside. We were still having parties. There was raves. I was the only. I felt like a jerk. I was like, so I'm the only one who's locked down. Everybody's going to parties and doing things. And then I'm the one that's doing nothing, and I'm the one that gets it.
That's insane. I thought
Yeah.
New York was super like Fort Knox, but apparently
Nah,
not.
man, it's not what they're nah, it's not what they're advertising. People are out here doing all
See,
crazy stuff.
this is why I wanted to have you on, the COVID survivor, and I wanted an insight on New York,
Yeah,
because like I
people
ain't going to
talk
New
people
York.
talk all this stuff. We're still out here.
Wow.
Everybody's doing all
Y'all
this
out
stuff.
there. So
People out
y'all just
there.
raw dogging the atmosphere is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I went out this morning. I had breakfast at a diner inside. That's
Fuck.
it.
You
So you're
wait.
not worried about getting it again?
Oh no, I'm done. I have enough antibodies. I think I'm okay. You can't get it for 3 months.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so in
Damn.
3 months, then I have to like shelter up again because I might be able to get it. And
That's
I really don't want to get
crazy.
this thing. This was terrible.
Oh
You don't want to get
wow.
it.
No, 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 no. This thing is not a joke. It's not a
So
joke.
how do you
Now
feel
when I
about
hear
the
people
vex?
talk about the vaccine,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, uh, I'm sometimes I do think that there's need to be like more research. I'm always gonna take the position as a black man. I'm always gonna say, you guys have messed around with our health for so long that I don't think I want to get this vaccine. I want to see like all your folks get it first, and if y'all not dying, then I'll probably get it. But
Hmm.
I also think that if it is a viable cure, if it's something that we can trust, I what other choices do we have? You know what I mean? And I think
Mm.
they're gonna make that mandatory. So that's kind
I'm
of tough.
hearing I'm hearing from people in the healthcare profession, the ones I know, they're gonna end up having it. So you have to carry proof with you if you want to
Yeah,
travel.
that's you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. I still just don't want to be in the first wave. So like, I
Me neither.
mean, Fernando got it, and then I found out my father got it too. But I was like, all right,
I'm,
well, I'll just sit back and see how it goes.
but he's at high risk. I think that
Why?
people who
Because
are
of
his
his job.
asthma.
Oh yeah, true.
You know what I mean? So I think that people that do have, that are at high risks for respiratory problems, I mean, I'd advise them to just check out all the science and see if it's an option for them. But if you're okay, if you can, troop a little bit. I mean, I don't want to get it, but I think that if I got it again, I still survive it. I'm healthy enough. I'm I won't waste away. I gained about 52 pounds in lockdown, so I got some I got some pounds that I can shed through
Oh
sickness. You
man.
know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's up.
So Pops, you said that you didn't train for like I guess 8 months, correct?
8 months.
All right. So is that the longest break that you've had from training? And also,
Yeah,
like, what is your background in martial arts? Like, can you tell the people like your experience, who you've trained under, all that good stuff?
sure, sure. So I started training judo in the 90s, early 90s. That was many, many, many moons ago. So I started training in the Bronx under a whole bunch of guys
Hmm.
that were like the Puerto Rican judo crew. And then I trained in Manhattan at the Kikuchi Budo Institute um, with Shintaro's father for a while. And then now he has a gym with Gary St. Ledger. So
Mm.
it's pretty cool. So I trained there, and then I stopped, and then I just started like um, I was a street kid, so I was in the streets for a long period of time. So I stopped training when I was about 16, 17. I trained from 9 years old till like I was like 16, And then at 17, I took a break. I didn't train again till I was like 27, 28.
Oh,
Yeah, and I had gone through it. I went through like, the whole street life, homelessness, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, violence. I mean, I had 3 murder attempts on my life. So at 27, I don't know what I was watching, and this jujitsu thing, it was like a jujitsu documentary came on, and I was watching this. I was like, "You jujitsu like from Brazil? Like, what are we talking about, right?" And then I got interested, and I found that there was this guy at the time. I think it was the old Machado Academy on 38th Street, 39th Street, something like that.
mhm.
And I went, and Ailson Brites Jucão, he was there, and he showed me a couple of things, and I was like, yo, this is actually pretty cool. So it was like the reverse of judo, because in judo you train from when you're 6 till you're like 32. Is all throws. All your competitive career is in that span of time, and after you're 32, you start doing newaza. You start doing the ground, which is easier on the body. And this thing was backwards. I was like, oh shit! So I get to be on the ground and not really. And me being 316 pounds at the time, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna lay on people. I'm gonna wheel it, right? I'm gonna be the whale, right?
Mhm.
And then I started realizing that you needed to do more, that there was more, that it was rigorous, that it was tough. So I trained there for like 3 months. But of course, me having all those health issues and stuff, and not being mentally strong enough to deal with it, I quit. Right. Then it took me, that was 2006. I did it 2007. I went back. And then it wasn't until 2008 when in November, Jucal said that he was going to Brazil, and I didn't know what happened. He told me, "Yo, there's going to be this guy. His name is Shaolin. Go train with him. He's going to open up a school." So in November of 2008, I joined VSB HJJ. That's Shaolin's academy, and I started training there. And of course, my training was also sporadic because I was still dealing with a lot of like personal demons and stuff like that. But it was the greatest thing because I was like a 5-year white belt, you know and it was frustrating as hell because I didn't know what I was doing or why I wasn't doing that didn't let me progress. And it was like, and I kind of took that personal. But now in retrospect, now being, walking this path for a long time, that was the best thing that ever happened to me because it taught me that I needed to, organize myself in order to reap the rewards for things, right? So it's not only hard work. You can work as hard as you can, but if you're not ready to receive certain things, they're just going to be wasted on you know and that
Ooh,
was like one of the biggest
deep.
lessons that I learned. So I trained with Shaolin from 2008 with a couple of breaks. Like I would take, because I also worked in the security industry, so it was when I could train. Sometimes I was working nights. I couldn't train morning. It was, it was erratic. Then when my life stabilized a little bit, I started training, at Shaolin's for a while. Then my friend Junior, who was he was at Shaolin's also. He was opening up a school, and he needed a core of higher belts. At the time, I had just gotten my third stripe on my blue belt, but I was already helping out people, training and whatnot. I mean, I already had like 8 years in, so I kind of like understood some fundamental stuff. Um, so I went to train with Junior. I trained there at Bronx Jiu-Jitsu, which was a Shaolin's affiliate, from 2013 until 2017, and I received all my belts from Shaolin. I used to go there and train sometimes. Junior was one of the biggest helps that I got. It was me, Junior, Fernando. So it was a pretty good crew from Shaolin's, and we started developing some jiu-jitsu there. We started like getting into other concepts and ideas and incorporating some techniques. And I trained there for a long while, and then life threw me a couple of curveballs, and I ended up at Lotus Club in Queens with a good friend of mine. His name is Eduardo Santos. He was from the George Gracie lineage.
Mm.
So, yeah, so it was George Gracie, Octavio de Almeida, Moises Muradi, then it's him, and he black belted me January 20th, 2019. So that's pretty much. I've trained under more people here and there, but that was just personal choices, not as like the people who I wanted, like who were involved day in and day out. But Shaolin Junior and Kadu have been like the guys that I've trained with most of the time.
Wow. So you've been in the game for a long time.
Yeah, I'm one of those, weekend warriors, and I just like, I just like jiu-jitsu. I enjoy it. It's like it has, when people say, "Oh, jiu-jitsu saved my life," I'll be like, "Yeah, that's true." And in my case, it's absolutely true. I mean, I do jiu-jitsu, and I hope I can be as raw as possible. I do jiu-jitsu so I don't do drugs. I do jiu-jitsu so I'm not, running the streets and being, a jerk. If I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu, I'd have to occupy myself with other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I wanted to ask about, because like I remember also when y'all came down to like Brazil, because I lived in Brazil for like 3 years and I started to like miss America and stuff. So like they would come down, they came down like 2 summers in a row, and they would like hit me to all the things in America, and they were the ones that would told me that like eyebrows were on fleek, and like because eyebrows definitely changed in the 3 years that I was in Brazil. Like like I came back and I was like, that's what they meant. That's what they meant. They're not the same as in Brazil. But I also remember y'all telling me like stories about like New York and like the 80s and 90s. And like we were probably drinking, but I really swear that y'all was like talking about like going up into the projects to go see some like shorties and like having to like, I don't know if you said dead bodies or maybe they were just cracked out, but I'm pretty sure y'all just said like that was just common in New York. So it's like, I kind of like, and cause like I do all this social work and I always try to like trying to get kids off the street. So it's like, how did you get from like that kind of situation in New York, the Bronx, Harlem, and actually be able to like make it out of there and like find judo and martial arts and like a job and get to college and like get through all of that?
All right. So I'll tell you what, that story is so funny because that's I went to visit. That was the first time I went to visit my wife of like 20 years. Right. So I went.
I changed it from booty call to something else because I was like, let his wife see this, because I was like, I know Justine was there and they both said it. I was like, but let me change the wording so she don't get mad. Okay, I'm glad it was your wife. And like, if it was a dead body, I'm glad it was worth it.
It was. And let me tell you, I'm coming from Harlem, right? And when we used to go to Brooklyn, everybody had to be strapped. Like you couldn't just go to Brooklyn. It was, you know what I mean? It was one of those stories where who you looking for, who you with, where you at, you know what I mean? That's how Brooklyn was back when I was a kid. You know what I mean? And then my wife lived in like one of the worst areas. My wife is from East New York, baby. I mean, feel me? That's no man's land. So one time I'm walking, I'm getting out the train, so the A train on Van Sicklen. I'm coming up the stairs, and all I see is this thing fall right in front of me. Boom. And I have to step over it, and it's just blood dripping down the steps. Guy had
Where
just
did it
gotten
fall
shot.
from? Like a door?
He was kind of walking, and somebody shot him. And I had to like walk over it and like make believe that I didn't see nothing. I have no idea, and just keep on going down that street. By the time I got to my girlfriend's house, I was like, "Can I please use the bathroom?" This, you know what I mean?
You didn't hear no gunshots? You just saw like, somebody drop?
No, because I'm coming up, like the train is passing. I don't hear nothing, so I'm just running up, and then it was like boom. I'm like, what the hell? When I was growing up, man, it was tough. It was
the crack era.
It was tough. It was tough. Yeah. I mean, look, I have what they call a $150 on my face, right?
Yeah, you can't see it in the dark. You can't see it.
So you can't, right? And my chest, if you see me without my shirt, I look like the New York subway map.
Whoa, wait. So for all the people that aren't watching on YouTube and all the people like, I guess, I mean, like Tim can't, like both me and Tim are for the suburbs. Yeah. What is a $150 right, on your face? What is a $150 on your face? Explain this.
So it's a cut in your face that takes about 150 stitches to patch up.
Oh God.
So I have both a slash and a stab wound on the same side that create that scar. My ear was surgically repaired to put it back together. I got stabbed in the back of my head, and I got stabbed on my side, and I got slashed, and I got stabbed right here. And this is me growing up. This is me being 16 years old. I got stab wounds. I got like 3, 4 stab wounds in my back. I got 2 slashes on my back. I got a big old, let me try to show you something. Like big old scar that goes from my shoulder all the way to my chest. Like, this is the New York I grew up in. It was rough. And I'm a product of that. But now, to get to the positive thing is I did find a whole bunch of mentors that were willing to invest their time in me and show me things. But the thing is that me being who I am and me being a street kid and having the people who are supposed to love me betray me in certain ways created distrust. Right? If I couldn't trust my mom, my father left me, and all these things, right? I internalized all that stuff, right? So I couldn't. How? Who are you? Why should I trust you, right? I'm making bad decisions for myself. I don't trust myself. What makes me think that the decision that you're gonna make for me is better than the one that I'm making? You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
fortunately, those seeds, they were there. They were dormant. And then later on, as I started growing, as I started maturing, they started sprouting. And at some point, I mean, and some people say, it was very late, but as I said before, you can only receive the gift when you're ready, right?
Yeah.
So that's when they started sprouting, and I started finding all these things, and then I understood that you need mentors. In order
So
for you to grow, you need mentors. You need all sorts of mentors.
so how
And they don't
did you
necessarily
find a
need to be,
mentor?
huh?
How did you find a mentor? Because I mean, like, if you tell a kid from a
Happenstance.
situation when you talk about like distrust and this and that, because I mean, I come from a situation where I don't necessarily have so much distrust, but I would say, like, because I'm also a teacher. So I know, like, teachers in
Right.
school, we always ask kids, like, who is your hero? Who do you look up to? And we don't really think about that. We just say our parents and stuff because they're the only like real people that like we kind of model. And it wasn't really until I had like jujitsu and
Mm-hmm.
terere that like I really learned to like value people for the
Mm-hmm.
influence and the impact
Mm-hmm.
that they had in my life. And it wasn't till like I had jujitsu that I like, or martial arts, because I had kickboxing before, that I really found mentors both in the sport and now professionally. But it's like, what caught, like, if you're worried about like, or if you're in the streets or this or that, like, how, like, what causes you to seek a mentor or realize like, okay, this is that person, and that person not being the drug dealer on your block?
And this is the thing. I also had the drug dealer on my block be my mentor. But this is the thing. Street kids, they're astute, right? And we're able, but it has to click at some point. It just has to click, right? So I was able to separate the person from the work,
Mm.
right? So when I saw the work, when I saw people, they're doing that work, and that work is honorable. And that work, benefits others, that is not self-serving work. Then that's when you start creating trust. Because if the work is self-serving, if it's, for money, if it's for positions, if it's for power, then it is the trust is not going to be there, right? Because when you do something that is open for everyone to benefit, then I can trust you with me because I'll be part of a grander thing. So when that clicked, that's when I was like, okay, let me observe these people. And then and then you start choosing who you want to be mentored by, right? And some mentors just take a liking to you by sheer happenstance, because I had a teacher at Shaolin's. He saw me and he just said, I'm going to teach you jiu-jitsu. And he was fighting, at some point he was even champion at Bellator. And this is the guy that took me from 316 pounds, dropped me down to 240 pounds, and told me, listen, now you can do jiu-jitsu, go ahead. And he became one of my best friends, and to this day we're tight. I It's incredible.
It's
That's what's
wonderful.
up.
That's deep. Damn. So
Uh,
go ahead, Nico.
like these are kind of speechless. So like, so why I'm trying to get in that, like I said, I clearly do a lot of social work, but you have
Yeah.
also, on top of what you did, you volunteered at Ascend, and then like I believe like Lotus was the gym you were telling me about before, because they always did like social work or
Yeah,
stuff.
they got
But
the
in
Valve.
wait, what is it? Is in New York or is it in Brazil? Because I
No,
was
that one is
researching
in
for it.
that one is in Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of like the Bunker, Hugo Martins. They have like a big thing with a couple of social projects that don't necessarily have a name. It's just people getting together. We try to do our best and help them out. I did do Ascend for a while, but that got difficult because the DOE, it's problematic to deal with contact, and it has to be a sport, and then you got to get a vendor license. They give you a lot of like blocks, hurdles, right? But a friend of mine, Eric Nicholson, shout out to that brother, he's the man. He's creating a program that is going to be absorbed by the DOE, by the New York DOE, right? And I was helping him out. It's at Brooklyn City Poly. It's a high school, and that program is serious, man. And this man is putting all the work. And I try to, do my mechanic thing with him. I try to go see the cars and do oil changes and things like that for him. But
So
he's doing great work.
what kind of program is it? Like
A
jujitsu? Is
jiu-jitsu
it?
program, a jiu-jitsu program. We did a gi drive, and we got about 600 gis, you know, and we
Wow.
recycled those gis. Then we gave those gis to other people who needed gis. You know what I mean? But
Wow.
that program, and it doesn't have a name. It's just the City Poly project, and it got a whole bunch of kids that were just terrible kids. You know, they were the detention kids, and these kids come in and train jujitsu like rigorously. I came in, and he brought me in for a little bit of like I don't know, like street cred, right? So, and I hate that. I truly hate that, because right now I'm just I'm a teddy bear made out of Twinkies. I got two little I got two little girls that they do whatever they want with me, right? So I'm not that person. But
Do you not
sometimes
have
I
that story though? Do you not have that story though?
which one?
A relatable story to some people,
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
do. I do. And that's what I sometimes have to realize, that regardless of who I am now, I still have a story that a lot of people can relate to in there now. Right? Even though it's the past for me, sometimes it's the now for certain people. And to
Yeah.
show them that, there is a point C. Right now you're a point B. There is a point C, and there is a way of jumping off. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a platform. And you know what? I can be your co-pilot. You're gonna pilot this thing to where you want, and I'll be your co-pilot. I'll help you out every time that you. And that's the thing. That's the thing that I had to realize, because I've always wanted mentors. I never considered myself one. I
Hmm.
still think that I'm traveling the path. That there's more stuff. Like Tim now is not gonna be able to get me off his butt, because now I'm gonna be like, yo, Tim, I need some help. Now he's gonna mentor me.
You
You
get that
feel
in.
me? Like we talking about that truck. We're gonna talk about the truck or what? You know what I mean? And that's the thing.
uh,
And that's the thing. It's like I have to start realizing now that I have accumulated enough that I need to give forward in other fashions by realizing who I am, and who I am for the culture itself, right? It's not just the jujitsu, it's who I am for the culture. That's the part where I think that we all, once we all realize that, that's going to be our biggest apportation to jujitsu, especially as Black folk.
True.
that's very true
That
and
is true.
interesting.
Like, that's part of the reason why I started the podcast, and especially why I work so closely with Nico, because we gotta represent the culture.
Yeah, man.
We gotta, just by being ourselves in this space. it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, like just by being someone just by being good. Like I think part of the reason why I enjoy doing this is that, you know, I enjoy it. I like to win, but by being unapologetically me and saying my piece,
Yep.
I'm helping people and being a light, even if I don't even meet them.
That's right.
Like,
Yo, in my house, you're a hero. You
oh,
ask my
that's
kid
dope.
Amiri. You'll ask my kid Amiri, who's the best jiu-jitsu player on the planet? He'll be like Timson Briggs.
I
You understand?
appreciate that.
Because the other day I had to do a post. I had to do a post where I had to say black belts do exist. Because for some reason we're not there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's how I found all the racists. Cause like
You understand? Black belts do exist, and that's a hashtag that I try to put. You know, always. I'm gonna have to try to get every one of us together, and be like, "Yo, look at us. We're here, and we do jujitsu." And some of us, like you, Tim, are exemplifying. I mean, I'm so deaf right now. I can't even get the word, and I'm excited. So it's like we have guys who are as successful as everyone else. Why don't we get the same type of fanfare? Why we don't get the same type of advertising? You know what I mean? Like my African, I'm not African American, right? I am of African descent, but I am an American. Right, so give me that same love. Don't give me the African. Don't make me. And it's nothing about Africa. It's like don't give me that African citizenship when I am like 4, 5, 6 generations removed from Africa. I don't know anything about Africa. I'm an American. I was brought up as an American. My mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother. All right, you know, I'm really that really gets my goat. Right,
it bothers me a lot.
and I'm sorry to like. I don't want to get into a racist tirade, but it does get to me. Like you got someone like Keenan Cornelius, for example, right? And I'm just gonna say that because he's got the whole American Jiu-Jitsu thing going on right now, which I
oh
think
no, yeah.
I find hilarious. So he's an American, but me and Tim, we're African American. So we get to be African first, and then our American citizenship is second, right? So he gets to be the voice of my Jiu-Jitsu. Why? I'm also an American. I get to voice my piece.
You see that American Jiu-Jitsu documentary? And like side note too, like
Yeah.
I think I'm super American because both my parents were colonels in the army. I was born in Washington, D.C. You don't get more American than that.
You don't.
And like I purposely go to like different countries and represent the United States.
That's it. That's it.
And I bring the smoke.
That's right.
And it's like
our beef with the United States is like people can't condemn me for my beef for voicing my grievances against the United States. Ask me someone that's never had a fight with their moms, and I'm gonna tell you lying. Just because I'm fighting against the United States don't mean that I don't love it. That's why I'm fighting, because I think it could be better. The reason that I'm smearing all the poop all over the place is so when you clean up, you get rid of the things that were there before I put the poop.
That need to be gone.
What did you think about that documentary, brother?
Well, I'll tell you what. I really don't know much about the documentary, but I do think that there is some sort of like American Jiu-Jitsu does hold water. But American Jiu-Jitsu is not what they say American Jiu-Jitsu is. Okay? American Jiu-Jitsu, you can only claim to say that you practice American Jiu-Jitsu in two ways. Either you are a top-notch wrestler who learned judo, right? Because we do all know, and I'm going to say this at the chagrin of all Brazilians, that BJJ stands for basically just judo. Okay? Now.
And he is pulling up his judo shirt. He is wearing a Fuji shirt that says judo on it.
So that's what I'm going to say. That being said, okay, I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt because I learned Jiu-Jitsu from Brazilians. That's it. That's where when I got into this game, it was branded as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I learned the Brazilian modality, whatever they had to teach me, right? And that's where I got my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, if I decide to say that I have a grappling black belt, then fine. But I'm not gonna go into the whole American Jiu-Jitsu now. If you're a wrestler, you know, Division 1 or whatever, and you learn judo, and you decide that that's American Jiu-Jitsu, I'm okay with that. All right. Or you're from a catch wrestling background from like Farmer Burns and Frank Gotch
Mm.
and all those guys, and then you learn judo also, and now you have American Jiu-Jitsu because it's basically the same thing. But if you tell me that you got your black belt from guys that, that from Brazilian guys and guys that got their belts from Brazilian guys, right? So I mean, Keenan was training with Lloyd for a very long time, right?
Mm.
That's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt because Lloyd says he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So that's that, you know. And then you get your black belt from Andre Galvao, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So your Jiu-Jitsu is not necessarily American. You're an American doing Jiu-Jitsu, yeah, for sure. And in Brazil, they don't even call it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's true also. They call it Jiu-Jitsu.
Very true.
I always say this too. I never see judo players diss Japan.
No,
They show respect. They still call the moves by their Japanese names.
absolutely.
They show deference. Mongolians can do great. They don't say we do Mongolian judo.
No,
We do
no,
judo.
that's
We
right.
represent Mongolia. I don't see that. I don't get it.
You understand? Like the farthest I'll ever go is say I do jujitsu, right? But when they ask me where you learned this, I was like, I learned this from Brazilians, and I'm never gonna do because you're biting the hand that fed you.
Mm.
That's where you get Otherwise, you'd have never been in the position to be so disrespectful. You're in this the big conundrum, right? This is a paradox. I'm in a position to be disrespectful to people with the skills that they gave me.
Very true.
Damn.
It's a paradox. I would have chosen the higher road and be like, yo, I just do jujitsu. And I can, or let's do a documentary on catch wrestling and show you how, because there was a whole bunch of I got notes, right? I'll tell you what. 1902, Teddy Roosevelt started training judo. At that time, it wasn't called judo either. It was called jiu-jitsu. So if you're going to go from there, sure, talk about American jiu-jitsu. But now, did he train under anybody that has the same lineage as Teddy Roosevelt? No. So I guess, if you train with Brazilians, you're a Brazilian black belt. I am sorry.